Right, so today's video is the video that people keep asking me to get out there. It's probably a year ago when I asked the question whether or not you want to see this video or not, and it's just gone on and on and on. So what we're going to be talking about today is how to apply for your goods vehicle operator's license in the UK, which will look, if you're successful, will look like that. So you have a disc for your vehicle, which you'll be given once the application's gone through and the application's been granted, and then you'll also get that, which has various stipulations in it and just clarify some of the information that you originally inputted during the application. So what I'm going to do, I've already had a look at some videos on YouTube regarding this subject, and what they tend to do is kind of go through the same thing, but they just tell you what to do. They don't tell you why you should do it. So as usual, for one of my videos, this is probably going to drag on and drag on and drag on. So if it ends up dragging on, I'm going to probably cut it and do it in 2 or 3 parts, because I don't want to rush through it, miss anything out. Don't want to give you any information that you don't quite understand, because some of you will already be operators and know exactly what I'm talking about. Some of you will probably have a rough idea what I'm talking about, or in the process of applying for an O licence. Some of you might be drivers who don't really know about O licensing and have a general interest and would just like to know how it all works. Some of you might be a milkman watching this and you don't even know what an O licence is. An O licence is, or you might be a 10-year-old kid who hasn't got a clue, but you like trucks. I don't know. So I'm going to try and do it in layman's terms. I'm going to try and explain it to you as though you are that 8-year-old kid, so you're clear on everything. It's pointless me telling you what to do if you don't really know why you should be doing it. So, and the reason I wanted to do it like this is because if you are going to apply, if you're thinking of applying, I want to give you as much information as possible before you jump in and apply. So, first thing, what is an operator's license? Well, basically that is a license that is issued to anybody that operates, we'll say, commercial vehicles from 7.5 ton upwards, right? They are bringing in new legislation with regards to vans. They already have if you go to the EU, but we're not going to get tied up in that because it'll just overcomplicate it. So the licence has got absolutely nothing to do with a driving licence, because in a way it's permission to operate as a business. And in most cases you will apply, and when I say you, I don't mean you as a person, even though there's a few sole traders out there. I mean 99% of the time it's companies that are applying, limited companies that are applying. So a limited company is a thing, isn't it? Like that's a cup. It's not a person. So a limited company can't apply by itself, can it? It needs a person to do it for them. So that is why it's nothing to do with driving licenses, because the O licence will belong to the company. Go and look on any HGV parked up and you'll see. This is the old disc. On an old video I made reference to ASDA. So this is a disc I found in this truck when I bought it, but it was from Asda. So you can see it. Can you see it? It says Asda Stores Limited, right? So it's Asda Stores Limited Company that have got an operator's license to operate commercial vehicles. It's nothing to do with a person, right? So let's just get that straight. Just like an off license may have a license to sell tobacco and alcohol, just like you go in a pub and what does it say over the front door? Whoever is licensed to sell alcoholic beverages or whatever it says over the door. Lots and lots of things need licenses. You need a license if you're a pharmacist, don't you, to dispense prescription medicine. You can't, you know, there's lots and lots of things that need a license. So straight off, get that in your head. It's nothing to do with a person most of the time, unless you're a sole trader, therefore you're not trading as a limited company, right? So if you're new to this and you're a driver like I was and then decided to do it, what you're going to have to do, and it from a financial point of view as well, is set up a limited company. I'm not going to go into that. There's videos on YouTube about that, and because you're going to need an accountant because it's the start of a business, I'd go and see your accountant about setting all that kind of stuff up. And the reason you want to set the limited company up is because in business, a lot of businesses, a lot of companies, limited companies, deal with other limited companies. And they do that because a limited company limits your liability when it comes to your finances. I know I'm going off track. I just want to explain why when you do your application, you're better off doing it having set up a limited company. So say you owe 50, 60, 70,000 pounds to 2 or 3 different businesses. Eventually they're going to have enough. They're going to have had enough and send the bailiffs round, right? So if you've got a limited company set up, it's the limited company that owes those businesses the money. So if the vehicle's in the limited company name, that'll get repossessed. So that's tough, right? So they'll come and possess the truck. Then the bailiffs from the, let's say, the fuel card provider turn up. You've nothing left, have you? You know, they might take a bit out of the company bank account. They might find a laptop and this, that and the other that belongs to the company that they can take to try and recoup some of the money. But if you're a sole trader, and let's say you live in a house worth 150 grand, they're going to repossess your house. If they can't get the money out of that, they'll repossess your car. And the last thing you want is to lose your home. So that's the reason. It's all right being a window cleaner or something like that and being a sole trader, because your overheads are minimal. But when you've got high overheads, lots of money coming in and out all the time, if you fall back on your payments, you don't want to find yourself where you've lost your house and your car. You know, in a way you can always start again. If you lose your truck, you've still got a bed at home, haven't you? So that's one of the reasons, from a personal point of view, you should set up a limited company. But other companies like dealing with companies rather than sole traders, because they can go online and kind of check your financial standing as a company and decide whether or not to do business with you. If you're a sole trader, they don't know you from Adam, do they? And they don't know whether you're trustworthy, whether you're going to pay your bills, whether you're going to submit this and do all the rest of it when it comes to paying your taxes and your VAT and everything like that. But as a limited company can check through Companies House whether or not another limited company have been paying the bills, or whether they've got any court injunctions, or whether they've ever been into administration and all that kind of stuff. So set up a limited company before you go through the process of applying for your own licence, because you're going to have to put that information in when you do apply. Right, so we've got I told you we'd be going around the houses. So we've got that sorted. Now what I'm going to do, I'm actually just going to reference the actual page, which I'll put a link to this, to the licensing service on the gov.uk website, but I've just got it up as a reference, because I don't want to go through all this, then have you just cling on to every word I say, apply, get something wrong, and then blame me. This isn't about that. This is more, well, in fact, don't do that, because you're your own person, aren't you? You know, you should be switched on enough to check everything. And I'm going to just go through this and tell you what I did and why I did it. So this is like my story. This isn't me telling you you must do it like this. So I'll put a link to this, to the proper page on the government website. I'm just going to reference it, but there is another video online that the links on this. What I'll do, I'll link that at the bottom, and that's showing someone actually selecting the options on the application page. I don't want to do that, because I'll have to go through the kerfuffle of clicking a button saying apply for a new license, and I don't want to do that, because once you log on, you've got to set up an account. You don't have to pay, so even if you're not thinking of applying now, you can go on the website, set up an account like you would on Facebook or whatever else, and then you'll get a list of questions on a drop, you know, name, address, all that kind of thing. But that's just held on the portal until you press send. So you can fill everything in, save it, because there's lots of different sections, and once you've saved it, you can log off, go back tomorrow and carry on. And you'll not be able to submit it, because when you do submit it, you've got to pay some money. So I don't think you'll make the mistake of mistakenly submitting your application. So in theory, you can fill in the whole application before sending it. So just to as an exercise, if you want to do something like that. So let's start with this. So when you're going through it, when you're watching the video, I can't remember how old the video is, but it does reference the cost of certain things as you're watching through it. Take no notice of that, because it's an older video and the prices have changed. Right. So when you first set up the account, I think it'll send you an email confirmation and all that kind of thing. But when you're ready to go, once you've signed into your account, straight away, I'm just gonna, well, I'll show you the video. You should get a page pop up like that, which is asking you various, sorry about the sun shining on it, but you can see, can't you, there. So each one of them basically is a separate question, and when you get onto so the first prompt was type of license, so you click onto that, and then it just asks you what kind of license. There's 3 questions on that page, then that's done. Then you click next, and then the next one on that drop down, click that. If it's something you can't answer, doesn't matter, leave it blank, go down to the 3rd one. And like I say, you can log off, log back on again and go back to question 2. So the first one is type of license, because when you're operating commercial vehicles, you've got the option, well, initially, so first it'll ask you the operator's location, whether that's Great Britain or Northern Ireland. I know we're all in the UK, but that's the first question, right? UK or Northern Ireland. Then the operator type, goods vehicle or public service vehicle, PSV, buses, coaches, that kind of thing, right? Then the license type, you've 3 options: a restricted O license, standard national, and a standard international, right? So they're 3 different colours. You've got a blue one, green one, orange one. So, and most of the ones you see flying about on our roads will be standard national ones that are blue. So a restricted O licence is for businesses, for companies that just move their own goods. They're not trading as a business where the vehicles are used for hire and reward. Hire and reward just means that you get paid to move things from A to B on a vehicle, a bit like a taxi, right? Taxi, hire and reward. Restricted license is for the likes of scaffolding firms, because it's their own product, they're not selling it, they're not being paid to move other people's goods from A to B, it's just a means to move their own product from A to B. And that'd be the same, even though this Asda one is a standard national. I think years ago lots of them used to have restricted O licences, because all they were doing were moving their own goods from a distribution centre to a supermarket. No one was paying Asda to move their goods from A to B, if you know what I mean. And in addition to scaffolding firms, you might even work in a factory where you have to go out, collect goods maybe from a customer, but it's stuff you use within your business. You know, you might have a truck in an engineering firm that you use purely for moving your goods, I don't know, some kind of machine, from your factory to a place that repairs machines, then pick another one up and bring it back. That's not hire and reward, it's just you're using the vehicle to move your own stuff around. So that is the restricted licence. Now, a standard national licence, which I have, and back to restricted one, you don't need, I'll get onto it later, but you don't need a transport manager CPC holder on the licence. You just need somebody who's competent, who knows what they're doing when it comes to running a vehicle. So standard national, the application's a bit more stringent than the restricted one, because like I said, the restricted one you don't even need a qualified transport manager. So the standard national is the licence that enables you to operate a vehicle for hire and reward within the UK. So most haulage firms, people like myself, have all got a standard national one, and a standard international one is exactly the same, but you're international, you can cross the water and go to France and Germany and Italy and Spain and Republic of Ireland and all, you know. you can go abroad. So in my case on that one, and if you're looking to do UK only work for hire and reward, you just click in Great Britain, goods vehicle, standard national. Obviously if you're in Northern Ireland you click that. Who's that now? Right, so next one. Business type. So this gives you the option: limited company, sole trader, partnership, limited liability partnership, other, public authority, charity, trust, university. You know, if you were other, you may have a commercial vehicle working for a charity. It's not being paid to move stuff around, it's just moving their charitable goods around, so it only needs a restricted licence. So on this one, it's just the one question. So like I say, it gives you the option of a sole trader, but I recommend setting up a limited company. I mean, you might already you might already be training, or you might be a transport manager just looking how to go about applying for a new license for the company you work at, because you've never done it before. So so you will be working for a limited company. So that's one question: limited company. Business details. So on the business details, what they do, this service will search for your registered company number at company's house, so you can't make things up. So if you're Joe Bloggs Haulage Limited, it's Joe Bloggs Haulage Limited, press find company, and then company house will generate or will pop up with the company number, which every company's got. So that's why you've got to be completely transparent and open when you're doing this, because if you try and fiddle it or anything, and God knows why you'd want to fiddle it anyway, you'll get caught out. So it's asking your company number, company name, trading name if optional, nature of business, which road transport, and the registered address. Now my registered address isn't my home address, it isn't where I keep the truck, it's my accountant's address. So I've got an office address that pops up as my registered address, because a registered address is different than a trading address. You know, you could trade from an industrial estate somewhere, but your actual main offices are in your town centre if you work for a bigger company, because there's quite a lot like that. They'll have a main office building, which is the registered address, but they'll trade from the industrial estate down the road. So just make sure that you don't get confused with your addresses. And then how would you like to receive correspondence? Email. Right, so that's that one. Business addresses. Right, so on the next question is addresses. So this is just asking for a correspondence address. So the correspondence address well, for me, it's not my registered address. Sorry, it's not the company's registered address. It's not the company's let's say where a trade from, where the truck's parked, where the truck's parked. The correspondence address, and it's if you're like me and own a driver with one vehicle, correspondence address, you probably better put in your home address, aren't you? Because if you have it sent to where you operate out of, there's more chance of getting lost if they ever send anything to you. So that's that. Contact details, email address, blah blah blah. Next one, directors. So as I'm an owner driver, one man, one vehicle, I've set up the company, I'm the director for the company and sole employee. Right, operating centres. So next one down is operating centre. So all you're doing is inputting the address of your operating centre, the place where you want to keep the vehicle. And on that, obviously you've got your address, and you need to submit how many vehicles you want on your O licence, because that will affect, from a financial point of view, how much money you need to have set aside for that vehicle or those vehicles. So because I've just got the one, it's a 26 tonner, I don't even need to have a trailer. I could have a trailer on if I wanted, but you know, you can be an owner driver with one vehicle and have 2 vehicles on the O licence. Because remember, the O licence is for the company. It's up to the company. Could have 10. As an owner driver, your company could have 10 vehicles, but you just use one at a time. But you'd need to put the 10 vehicles on the O licence and have enough money in your bank account or wherever it is to fund the running of those 10 vehicles, not just the one. It doesn't matter that the others aren't, that you're not driving. Right. It's exciting, this, isn't it? But the thing is, it is very straightforward. On the opening page, you've just got a list of all these slightly different subjects. You'll click on one and there'll be 1 or 2 questions, and it's a yes or a no, or a, you know, filling in your name. It's not an exam. You just fill in, you're going online and putting information in that you know, don't you? Because you know your own name, I hope, and the name of your company and your date of birth and where you live and how many trucks you want. You know, it's not difficult. You just fill in something in with information that should be in your head anyway. Right, have I done that one? Yeah, just done that one. Right, next one. Transport managers. Right, so you have to have, not with your restricted O licence, but with your standard national and international, you need a named qualified, so someone who's got the transport manager's CPC. Don't confuse that with a driver's CPC. Completely nothing to do with it, completely separate. Your transport manager doesn't even need to have a driving licence. The transport manager's CPC is purely more a certificate in professional competence when it comes to running vehicles, you know, and everything associated with this line of work. And in that, you know, your transport manager that may not even have a driving licence will have been taught about driver's hours and maintenance and inspections and MOTs and how to follow the money trail and, you know, incomings and outgoings and all that kind of thing. It's purely from a business point of view, that, because the traffic commissioner, a lot of this compliance and a lot of what you've got to do is about being compliant anyway, but also being safe. So if you're running a business where the business is commercial vehicles on a public road, that the traffic commissioner needs to be assured that there's someone qualified to make sure that happens and everyone's safe. And that's what they stress. A lot of it is about safety and compliant with the rules and the regulations and things like that. So years ago I did the transport manager's CPC course, so I'm the named transport manager on my limited company's all licence. Remember, it's not my licence, so I'm named on the company's all licence, just like that's, so just like Asda, the company, they would have had a qualified transport manager, Joe Bloggs, named on their licence. When you get the sheet, his name will, or her name will be in this. Right, so if you've not got a transport manager, what you need to do is either go and do the exam and obviously pass. But if you think that's a step too far, I mean, I've done it twice. I failed first time, and then did it again a few years ago. And then even because I think I'd had it a few years before I bought the truck, I then submitted the application with me as the named transport manager. But and like I say, you've got to be completely open and transparent. And because they ask you certain questions, and because I'd indicated I'd not had a job prior to this where I used that qualification, so they're thinking that I'm going to be a bit rusty. I've passed this done this qualification 8-9 years ago, and then never had a job where the content of that qualifications used in my day-to-day work, which it wasn't, because I stayed as an employed driver. It was just a qualification I had in my back pocket, and I never used it. So I had to go on a transport manager's refresher course. Now that's not an exam, it's just a refresher course where you sit a bit like a module on a driver's CPC course, where you sit in a classroom and you basically fire off one another and listen to the guy at the front. So that's what I had to do, and did it. And that was one of the, because sometimes I'm going ahead of myself now, sometimes your license will be your license will be granted, but there'll be certain stipulations on it. So there may be a because another stipulation was, I think from memory, because it's going back a couple of years, that as well as the financial statements I'd sent in after, I think, 3 months of trading, so it was granted, but there was a stipulation that after 3 months of trading I had to send in some more financial documents to show that I was trading and that there was money going in, coming in and going out. So just bear that in mind. Sometimes you will apply, you'll get it granted, but they'll just ask for 2 or 3 things a bit further down the line. Yeah, so I'm the named transport manager. Now, if you don't want to even go and do that, you're going to have to find someone, a qualified person, to be the named transport manager on your O licence. And it's not just a case of finding someone, will you put my name on, can I have you as the named transport manager on the O licence? Because that person still has a job to do when it comes to, let's say, your business. You know, if that transport manager tells you that truck needs servicing, or that truck's due an inspection, or that you're not using your mode switches on your tachograph correctly, you need to rectify those things, because if there's an incident, it's not only you that will get dragged in front of the commissioner, it's also your transport manager. So you have to have that working relationship. Even though your transport manager, you know, if you employ someone to be your transport manager, that person's at the end of a phone, but just as responsible as the transport manager who's stood behind the desk at Stobart's when you walk in, or at Wincanton or wherever. They still have those same responsibilities. So don't just think it's a case of slipping someone 50 quid a month or a week just to have the name on your road licence. It doesn't work like that. They've got a legal responsibility as well to make sure that everything's right with you, because it might be your company and you're the owner driver, but he's a legal responsibility as the transport manager to make sure that you're running legally, you're running compliant, you've enough money in the bank and all those type of things, you see. So don't just think it's a case of, oh yeah, my brother or my mate or my cousin or someone. And I'm just trying to think how you'd get a transport manager if you don't know anybody personally, because I've not got time to do it for you. But I know Thingy's started, hasn't he? Luke, bloody the original trucker Luke. What's he called now these days? Well, he's just started doing that and doing it remotely. So, you know, if you're in Wales, I mean, I suppose you could be anywhere in the country. It's an option, isn't it? And we all know he knows his stuff from his videos years ago when he used to go on the continent before his little bit of misfortune. So that might be worth a shout. But right, that's that one. So the transport manager's there really to make sure everything's basically not running the business, but making sure things are compliant. Right, vehicles, boom. Manage your vehicles. Right, so because I've already got a vehicle on my own licence, it's giving me different options, I think, than it would if you were applying. So it's probably going to be add a vehicle, remove a vehicle, I don't know, because it's asking me to view my vehicles, so I'll just do that one. Right, so that just goes onto a page that shows the registration number of my vehicle, well, the company's vehicle, its plated weight and the disc number. So all discs must have a, is that the old license number or a disc number? Right, that's, oh, here we go, 4. Right, well, it's showing me my disc number, but on the disc there's a number on the back and one on the front, so that's the Asda one, so that's why I'm not so sure. But that will update off once you put your reg number in, which you should know, and well, I don't even think you put your plated weight in, because that information's held by the DVLA, and that stops you putting something in that's wrong. I might be wrong on that, but like I say, it's just a prompt thing, so it's not difficult. Save all that. So next one, trailers, but I have no trailers, so obviously that one's blank. So the next one's safety and compliance. So this is just going to ask you how many, the maximum number of weeks you're going to go before you have your vehicle inspected. Now, the norm's 6 weeks. I think we're all familiar with 6 week checks. but some people may go for 4 weeks, some vehicles may maybe 10 weeks, all depends on the nature. If you're hard at it 24/7 doing really dirty, horrible tipper work and all the rest of it, the actual traffic commissioner, you might put 6 weeks in, but they might stipulate, no, actually due to the nature of the work we want your vehicles inspecting every 4 weeks or every 5 weeks. Then it asks you, how do you analyse the information from your digital tachograph? So just slightly off topic, because it's nothing to do with all licensing really, but if you're new to this and just buying a truck, what you need to do is apply for a company card for your tachograph, and then get some means of getting the information off the actual tachograph. And if you've not used one of these before, when you download your card, your driver card in the office or whatever, some people use these, there's all sorts. There's just a little slot on here, you put your card in, press card at the bottom, this flashes a different sequence once it's finished loading. Take your card out, but this is also the device you need to download the vehicle unit information. So that's what you need, and I'm just telling you that because this is one of the questions. How do you analyse the information from your tachographs in-house using software on your PC? Well, yes, with me, because I download it, go home, put the SD card in the laptop. I've got an account with I think with Taco Disk. You load everything onto the website, and then that's analysed, and any infringements and stuff pop up, just like you might have in your office, but you're then given a piece of paper out to sign saying you understand that you've messed up. It's that kind of thing. By sending to an external analysis bureau. Oh, I suppose I do that in a way as well, don't I? No, because I'm using software, aren't on my PC. Right. And then, because this is to do with safety and compliance, because I just mentioned the 6 weeks, it then asks you who's going to be responsible for your maintenance for your 6 weekly checks. So again, what you need to do is go to whichever, if it's a main dealer, it's a main dealer, if it's independent, go there, get them to agree that they will be the provider of 6-week inspections. I think when I went, I signed something and then sent that in with the application. I'll have to just look at that in a minute. Like I say, it's not too much of a faff, but there's like a page, then another page and another page, but it's all straight. It is straightforward. And if you're like me and you look at it and say, "Oh bloody hell, what the?" Just go away. If you're in the process of doing it, go away, have a brew, come back, or switch it off. Go away, do 2 or 3 questions tomorrow, especially the ones where it starts asking questions where you've got to upload things. And right, so has anyone named on your licence ever been declared bankrupt? No. Owing money? No. Insolvency? No. You know, da 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 da. Right, so that's all straightforward. Well, that's all straightforward as long as you've had no financials problems in the past to do with insolvency and other businesses going bust. Next one, license history. So basically, there's like 6 or 7 questions on this page, and this is all about whether anybody applying for the who's going to be named on the licence has ever had or been named on a previous all licence. Because I suppose that way then they can look back, can't they, and see if there was any problems previously. Right, something I just forgot to mention because it didn't pop up. Because I've already got an all licence, I'm logged into my account, you see. So when the things I've just gone through, there's certain things that aren't highlighted, which would be highlighted if it's your first application. And one of them would be, I think when I was just a second ago talking about the operator centre, sorry, the operating centre and the authorisation, I said I said I'd just put the application in for one vehicle, which is correct, but it's not. The thing I'm going to talk about isn't displayed on this page now because I've already got the authorisation. It's not coming up. But what this page will also do, will ask for evidence of the newspaper advert that you're going to have to submit when you submit the application. So on here you can put the address of your wannabe operating centre, the number of vehicles, number of trailers, and then underneath there's not on here, but it will if you're doing it. There's a drop down menu asking for you to submit the newspaper advert. Just a second, because I got it flagged up somewhere. Right, so when you put the name and the address in, if you want to be operating centre, it'll also ask you if you have permission to keep your vehicle at those premises, and you'll have to send evidence of the newspaper advert. It's a bit like a planning application for an extension on your house. What you're doing, what you've got to do, you've got to place an advert. Just give us a sec. Right, I just wanted to clarify something then. Right, so what you need is permission of someone or a company to use the premises as an operating centre for your commercial vehicle, for your truck, right? And your operating centre is where your vehicle or vehicles are normally kept when not in use, right? So when you fill in the all licence application, don't be confused with your home address or your registered address. This is where the truck's going to be based when you're not using it. Doesn't matter, you might be out all week on nights out or for a fortnight, or what. This is where it's based. When you're not at, when you're at home, the truck's address. So what you've got to do is place the advert in the local paper to the operating centre, to give local people, local businesses, whoever it may be, a chance to, I'll not say reject, but a chance to oppose the application based on a number of reasons, because you could be asking for a spot to operate the truck out of next door to a school, and it's someone's back garden. It could be, do you know what I mean? If you, and it's just a no, it's not going to happen. So you need to give the let's say the locals an opportunity to ask more questions, and to, if they want to, put any objections in. But if you're in a factory, if you're on an industrial estate, if you're renting a spot in a haulage yard that's already trading, the chances are that any objections from anybody in the area will be knocked back anyway. But you've still got to put the advert in the paper, because it's what they asked for. So once you've going back to the application, once you've got the ad, you submit that with this application that you're filling in online, and you can do that. All it says here, you need to show that your operating centre is large enough, has safe access, and is in an environmentally acceptable location. Right? If you don't own the operating centre, you must show that you're allowed to use it. So that might involve a letter off the people who own the land, or the rent, you know, whatever it may be, because there is an opportunity when you submit to add further documents, because all you need to do is scan stuff and then upload it as a file on the platform. Right, so when you place your ad, it's got to be in a local newspaper, obviously with details of the operating centre. It must appear at least once in the period from 21 days before to 21 days after you make your application, to give people the chance to object. If you don't advertise the application properly, if you don't advertise the operating centre properly in the newspaper, your all licence application might be refused, because you're not being clear and transparent about where the vehicle is going to be kept. So it just says here things like local council, planning authorities, police, yada yada yada, may object on the grounds of your own fitness to operate. It might just be the fact that they're objecting to you because you're the local scally, and they know that you just won't operate in a safe manner. It could be anything. Could be, like say, next door to a school, all that kind of stuff. So the advert, when I did it, I think my advert went in the Lancashire Evening Telegraph, and I actually went on the website. Try it on your own newspaper wherever you live. I went on their website, and in the search bar at the top, just wrote in something like operating centre application advert, you know, something like that. And they actually had on the newspaper's website a draft copy of exactly everything the traffic commissioner needs to see when you submit it in with your application. So all you had to do was put the address of the operating centre in, maybe your own name, I can't quite remember, and the number of vehicles, and everything else was already written out for you. So they've just said, haven't they, on here, that if your application may be refused if you don't advertise the centre properly. Well, if you've not got everything in that advert that they require, they're going to knock it back. So there is a draft copy of everything you need. It was on the Lancashire Evening, is it Lancashire Evening Telegraph and News? I can't even remember what the name of the newspaper. There is that. So you, like I say, all you need to do is fill in maybe your name and address, the registered company's name address. I be honest with you, I can't remember, but it's quite easy. You don't have to write out, I would like to keep my truck either, this is the, you just put the address in, probably sign it, and then it gets put in the newspaper. But that was very, very expensive. A few £100 just for an advert. And then I think, I don't know whether, I think it had to appear in the physical newspaper and the online newspaper. I can't remember, but bear in mind it's a couple of years ago, so things do change. So just maybe ask that question. But once I'd bought a copy of the physical newspaper, I had to cut it. Well, it's the whole page. Don't just cut the advert out. Cut the whole page. Just rip the whole page out with everybody else's adverts, whatever it might be. Advert for a, I don't know, a sofa bed shop and this, that, and the other. You know. So your advert's there. The whole page is there with the date on as well. Scan it and then upload that to your online account. Right. So another thing that didn't pop up then because I was logged into my account and I've already done the application was it'll ask you about financial standing. And what that means is you have to submit evidence with your application to show that you've got enough available funds to keep the vehicle, the company. Let's just talk about one vehicle, that you've got enough funds to keep it in a roadworthy condition and everything else associated with it. So at any one time, bear in mind these rates change, they go up maybe every year or every couple of years, so depending on when you watch this video, I'm not going to give an exact figure. So you have to submit evidence that you've access to £8,000, well, I'll say it's about £8,000. So that could be a bank account that's got £8,000 in it. That could be an overdraft facility at the bank. It could be some other things. Look into it yourself, that, because I'm not quite sure exactly what does and doesn't count, and I don't want to tell you one thing and it ends up being wrong. But you need to have access to £8,000 for one vehicle. Now, if you're an operator with two vehicles, you don't have to have an additional £8,000 for the second vehicle, but you do have to have, I think it works out about just under half. So say it's £8,000 for your first vehicle, then every subsequent vehicle you add to your O licence, you must have, what will it be? Let's say £3.5 grand. So for two vehicles, you need 11.5 grand. For three vehicles, you need 15 grand. But for just one vehicle, you need the £8,000. But when you do the application, you've got to prove that you have access. It's all right saying I've got £8 grand or whatever it is. You have to show them evidence that you have, and you do that by submitting, I think with me they asked for 3 months worth of bank statements, the last 3 months worth of bank statements. And I was, between you and me, I was quite lucky, because at the time we'd just come into COVID, and the government were offering the bounce back loans. So this wasn't money they were giving away. This wasn't being furloughed. This was businesses, we'll lend you money, you've got to pay it back, but for the first year there'd be no interest on your repayments, and then after that there would be interest payments on it. So I was quite lucky that I applied for the bounce back loan, because remember, I'd been trading as a freelance driver through the company, and it was the company applying, not me really, it was the company applying for the loan. So I managed to get the loan, so that helped show in the bank I had access to those funds to be able to maintain and run the lorry, run the truck. So that's what you're going to have to do. Now, it's not an exact science, because remember, the traffic commissioner and the beaks, a lot of them have got a bit of common sense. So like with me, my license was granted, but because they still weren't quite too sure, they then asked 3 months later for some more bank statements and things like that, and then I had to do the transport manager's refresher. So you can always add things to the application to show that, right, I'm applying now. I mean, I might be waffling absolutely nonsense now, but if you show that you're going to be coming into that money, maybe that'll help, you know, because you're making an application. They don't want to turn your application down. So if you can prove that you've got a Bugatti Veyron on the drive that's worth whatever they're worth, even and it's registered in your or your company's name, and there's not loads of repayments due on it, that's access to 8 grand, isn't it? And you know, that's a funny one. Comment about, do us a favour, and when it comes to financial standing, if any of you know, just comment below, because I'm generally interested into us what classes has access to funds. You know, even if you had another truck that you didn't use that was off the road that was worth 20 grand, could that be deemed as access to 8 grand? I don't know. So, right. So are you with me so far? So, again, like I normally do, let's just quickly go over it a little bit, right? So, you go on to the you go onto the .gov website, set up an account. I'll put a link at the bottom to, I think, the correct place where you start. So open account, you know, there'll be that faffing with putting passwords in and getting emails and then setting it up. Then once you set up, you can go and apply for an O licence. Now remember, you can set up an account and basically fill the form in and have no intention of applying for an O licence, just as an exercise. Because obviously the application only goes through at the very, very end when you press submit and send them a load of money. So a lot of it's tick box, like I said, a lot of it's selecting yes, no, restricted, you know, standard national, your name, address, transport manager's name, address. It's all really, really straightforward. Then there'll be one section that asks you to upload a copy of the newspaper advert. Obviously they're not going to do everything for you. They're not going to go, all right, we'll contact your local news. You've then got to go away, look for, because remember, you might live here, the truck's based there, and the circulation of this newspaper doesn't come to your area, so you need to contact them, because the application's where the truck's based, right? So you need to contact the main newspaper for that town. Certain questions will prompt you to upload the newspaper advert, and also your financial standing, I think they call it. So what you need to do is, what evidence it is, it might be you've just got a load of money in a savings account, and yeah, if the license is granted, that's definitely gonna go into the company account. I don't, I'm not quite sure how they work that, but you need to show. So scan them, upload them to the site, load all that. Obviously put the name in of your transport manager, and then when the whole thing's filled in, the other thing to remember as well is if you're just starting, you don't need to input the registration number of any vehicle. All you need to do on that section is, let's say you're like me, you just put all license application, one vehicle. Then there's a little box at the bottom that says like input vehicle details later. So tick that one, because you don't want to find yourself buying a vehicle, putting the information in, and then your application being rejected, because then you're stuck with a truck, aren't you? Always wait till your application has been successful, your license has been granted, then get the truck. By all means put a deposit down, and I think that's what I did. I said I'd have this truck, I put a deposit down on the understanding that the O license would be granted. If the O license was to fail, they understood that, and they'd give me the deposit. They'd give me the deposit back. So don't be scared. If you're out there now looking for a vehicle, or looking for finance for a vehicle, or whatever it is you want to do, make sure, don't jump in and just buy it. What you need to do is leave a deposit, say I'm having it, sign to say I'll have it, based on the O license being granted. But also make sure that if you're going in a truck dealers or whatever, make sure you tell them the application's in, I'm just waiting. Don't say, I've not started, I've not started my application yet and I've not done that, because they're just going to think you're a time waster. But then again, you might lose £1,000 if that's your deposit. So so that's the truck sorted. The newspaper, I'm just trying to think of the things other than the straightforward name and address and selecting what you want exactly. So there's the newspaper, there's the financial standing, there's that about the truck, I think they need a copy of the transport manager's CPC certificate as proof that that named person has got the qualification as well. I'm sorry I can't be more precise, but I'm on I've logged into my account, and because I've already done all that, those prompts never come up anymore. It's just showing me, because once you've got your O license, you've still that portal, that online account's there forever, so you can go in and change little things and all the rest of it. It doesn't disappear. The only thing that disappears, but your original application's gone, but your current information's there. So I'm going off track again. And then right, so if you're in the process of applying, I know you're not hanging on every one of my words, and you're probably going to be fast forwarding and going back because I've kind of gone off kilter, but you should have enough sense when you're on the website to understand what it's asking and why it's asking. And if you're not sure, by all means comment and I'll try and answer a question, or anybody else that's watching, feel free to answer other people's questions, because I just don't want this to be me going, this is how you do it and this is why you do it. If you're still not too sure, there'll be someone else that's not so sure and someone else. So if you ask the question, you might be helping half a dozen people out with a question that they're thinking and something I've not even thought of. So once you've filled it all in and you're ready to click submit, it'll say, and I've got the current ones up, it'll say, right, you need to send £257 as well. Oh, and the other thing, if you're in a, let's say you've got a load of work lined up and you've got, you know, I'm exaggerating now, you've £1 million worth of work lined up, you've got your truck and you're behind submitting your application, you can actually apply for an interim license, which is just a temporary one until they figure out whether or not to grant you the full one, and it's valid for however long it's valid, but just tends to be used when people are really, really desperate because they really, really need it. But no doubt you'll look at that. Yeah, so when you're ready to submit, paying 257 quid just to apply. That's it. That's not for the license, that's just to apply. And then you've your 300 quid or whatever your newspaper advert is, right? So that's a load of money gone straight away. Then that's gone, and you can sit back and relax for a few weeks. Generally, in my experience, which is very limited, but talking to other people, as long as you've not made any major mistakes, they are on the ball with things like this. And what you might find is that you sent your application off, and then in 7 days or 10 days you'll get an email or a message on your, keep looking into your account because it will update with things. Log back in after a week just in case you've missed an email, because they will add things in your account. They will actually ask for, it was the same with me, it was I can't even remember. I think I may have even submitted the financial information initially as the set norm, right? So that's gone in. But because I'd not been trading before like this, even though I had the company, the turnover was relatively low compared to turnover of a business with a truck. So I think they may have even asked for a couple more months worth of bank statements, but it's there straight online. So your application hasn't been refused. They're just looking at it thinking, oh, yeah, well, let's just double check this. Let's just see if how far back this money trail goes, because it doesn't quite look right. So they might send you a message saying, like, kind of, do us a favour and just send us a couple months worth of financial evidence. So all you do again on your printer, on your scanner, upload it to the site, and they'll get it straight away. And I think the other, and then maybe, let's say maybe 3 or 4 days later, I think, I'm not so sure, I may have even photocopied the wrong certificate, the driver's CPC certificate. Oh no, I can't remember whether they wanted the, that's it, when I did my driver's CPC years and years ago, I never got the final certificate. I got 3 separate ones and I thought that was it. But actually you do end up with one that's kind of encompasses the other 3, and I never ever got it. So on my first application, I think I photocopied all 3, and not photocopied, scanned all 3 and sent them in. So then on my portal I got a message saying, no, these are wrong, you're gonna have to find or send in the individual one that encompasses the other three. So that were a faff, but I managed to get hold of it. Bear in mind, it was 10 years ago. I never got issued with it, but having contacted Cambridge in, or is it OCR, not OCRS, getting confused with thingy, the examination board, they managed to find it, and I got a copy and fired it off. So my application wasn't rejected, they just needed a bit of confirmation with this and a bit of confirmation for that. And then the other one was the refresher refresher transport manager CPC. I think they sent me a message for that. Are you willing to do a refresher? Yeah, right, we'll do it next Tuesday. Bam, that got done. So then within whatever the time frame is that's highlighted, wherever it's highlighted on here, I got my license granted a lot sooner. You know, like when people apply for a passport and think, oh, it's going to take 3 months, and it turns up next week. It was kind of like that. So yeah, so, and then, oh yeah, once you've paid your 200, currently, because I'm just looking, once you've paid your 257 quid to send your application in, you will then get some messages. You may well not. The application might just sail straight through and you're granted your O licence, right? But for them to like do the equivalent of going, here is your O licence, but they do it online, you have to pay £401, 400 quid for them to go, here, you've got your licence, right? And that's valid for 5 years, and then in 5 years you've got to pay another £401, and they'll give you another one that's valid. Well, another one, they'll renew it for another 5 years. So do you think we've covered everything? Probably not. And it probably, because I went off on a tangent, it probably made no sense, but I'd rather talk to you as though you sat next to me here now and we're having a chat, rather than, you know, rather than sitting here like a school teacher. So I'd rather have that kind of chat. So if I've missed anything, or if you think I'm doing anything wrong, or well, I couldn't have done, because I got my own licence. So yeah. So any questions, just comment down there. Feel free to answer those comments if you want. If you're a owner driver or you know your stuff, you feel free to do it as well, and hopefully I might learn something. So I'll put a link to, let me just tell you what it's called in case it doesn't work. I'll put a link to the DVSA's video about applying for an operator's license, right? So this is from the horse's mouth. Well, it's not, because there's no talking on it. It's just a desktop with someone up with a mouse clicking and clicking and clicking. So that's why I've not shown you on mine, because it's got all my information on it anyway. It's just showing you that click process. And I'll also, so there'll be a link to that video, and then a link, where's it gone? And then a link just to the gov.uk page where you start the application. So if that's all good, I hope you've learned something. I hope you understand, probably not, what I've just tried explaining. And I think that's everything. So cheerio.